Welcome to Tales from the Dark, a place where shadows whisper stories and nightmares come alive. Dim your lights, put on your headphones, and get ready, because tonight the darkness itself will be your storyteller. Each tale you hear will linger, creeping beneath your skin, haunting your dreams long after the story ends. Let's enter the darkness together. I don't know what compelled me to go back there. I told myself it was for closure. That if I saw it again in daylight, if I retraced my steps with some kind of logic, maybe everything would stop flickering in my mind like old footage glitching on a corrupted screen. But it wasn't logic, it was obsession. The kind of hunger that sets in when the person you care about just disappears, like they've been swallowed by something too big for the world to hold. Darren wasn't the kind of guy who just walked off without a word. We grew up together, shared the same backyards, the same cracked sidewalks and storm drain rumors, the same parents who got quieter and sadder with each passing year. He was the kind of friend that felt more like a ghost limb, a part of you you'd swear you could still feel long after it was gone. He told me about the house 2 days before he vanished. He didn't even call it a house, just that place. That thing out past the ridge where the pines rot from the inside and you can't get a signal no matter what service you have. He found it through a message board that no longer exists. A thread titled "Structures That Shouldn't Still Be Standing." I thought it was another one of Darren's obsessions. Abandoned places, forgotten blueprints, half-buried bunkers no one wanted to acknowledge. That's what we did. Filmed ruins, edited them to look cinematic, posted them to our dead-end channel, hoping one day we'd catch something strange enough to go viral. But this wasn't content. This was something else entirely. He said the house wasn't abandoned. He said it knew it was being watched. That's the last message he sent me. 10 words exactly. It knows when you're filming. Don't come looking for me. I didn't call the cops. You don't do that when you're 25 and still trying to prove you're not losing your mind like your father did. I told myself he'd show up hungover somewhere, or maybe ghost me for a few weeks just to make a point. But a week passed, then 2. No pings, no sightings, no movement on his socials. Then the package arrived. No return address, just my name scrawled in pencil the same way he used to label our VHS tapes when we were kids. I opened it on instinct. Inside was a mini DV tape, a rusted key, and a slip of paper that simply read, "I left it inside the wall. Don't let it see you." That night I started digging. The drive to the house was shorter than I remembered. Or maybe I just lost time. The road out past the ridge doesn't show up on any GPS. It curves in a way that feels wrong, like you're moving sideways through something old and unfinished. I kept the windows up. The air smelled like wet metal and overripe earth. And then, there it was. It didn't look haunted. No crooked angles, no gothic flair, just a squat 2-story structure half sunk into the hill. Its boards were warped and the paint peeled in long, skin-like strips, but the house felt wrong in a way I couldn't name. Like a thought I'd almost had. One heartbeat away from recognition. The front door was already open. I don't remember walking in. The air inside was colder than outside, but not the kind of cold that comes from shade. It felt like the inside of a freezer. Or a morgue. Still. Wet. Pressed in. Like it didn't want you to breathe too loud. The walls were wrong. That was the first thing I noticed. Not mold. Not rot. Bulging. The drywall swelled in places like something behind it was breathing slow, heavy pulses that made the nails creak and the paint flake like dead skin. I followed the sound of the floorboards. The living room was filled with things that didn't belong to anyone. Hundreds of shoes, pairs, and singles, scattered across the floor like they'd been dropped mid-step. There was no dust on them, no decay, just rows of them, some children's sizes, some too large for any normal foot. I didn't film anything. Not yet. That came later. I found the camcorder on the second floor behind the wall in what used to be a bedroom. The plaster had been cut neatly like surgery. Darren had hidden the camera deep inside, wrapped in wax paper behind layers of insulation that stank of piss and rot. When I touched it, I swear I felt something shift below the house. Not heard. Felt. Like something under the floor coiled, waiting. I should have left then. But I needed to see what was on the tape. I didn't watch it until I was back home. And even then it took me 2 hours to press play. The footage was unedited, raw, shot in low-light, shaky hands, no commentary, just Darren breathing fast, shallow, and the crunch of debris under his boots. He walked the same path I did, only the house was different. It didn't just look decayed, it looked alive, like it had rearranged itself for him. There were hallways that I never saw, rooms that shouldn't have fit inside that layout. The footage flickered, not the kind of digital glitching you'd expect, but real analog warping. Like the signal itself was being bent. At one point, Darren pointed the camera down a narrow hall. There was a door at the end. It wasn't in my version of the house. Carved into the wood in something too dark to be paint were the words, "Every house remembers." That's when things started happening in my apartment. I live alone. No pets, no roommates. My locks are triple checked every night. But for the last week, I'd wake up to find my furniture moved, not shifted, rearranged, as if someone was studying how I lived. Fridge open, TV on white noise, bathroom mirror fogged up with a phrase I couldn't read until the fourth night. "I'd seize through you now." I stopped sleeping, started leaving the lights on, and then the smell started. It's hard to describe. Not decay, not sewage. It's like burned teeth. Like something once alive had been pressed into a mold and left too long in the kiln. I couldn't take it anymore. I went back to the footage. Darren made it deeper into the house than I had. He found something in the basement, or something that looked like one. It wasn't a basement in the way we understand it. No concrete, no pipes, just walls made of fabric. Not curtains, skin, stitched panels of what looked like leather but moved like something else. They twitched when his light hit them. And then, the sound. Low at first, like a woman humming through a cracked throat. Then layered voices stacking on top of each other until the whole room vibrated like a throat mid-scream. Darren turned the camera toward himself. His eyes were bleeding, not from injury, from inside, as if something was pushing out through the sockets. He whispered something I couldn't hear the first time. I had to slow it down, isolate the audio, loop it. He said, "It wears your voice when it comes." I didn't leave my apartment for 2 days after hearing that. I couldn't. Every noise felt intentional. Every flicker of light made me turn. The pipes grown differently now, not random gurgles or aging infrastructure, but rhythmic, purposeful. Like a sequence I almost recognized. Like something beneath the walls was trying to speak through water and metal. I tried to convince myself it was just the footage, that maybe Darren had spliced in audio tricks, buried sub-frequencies to mess with my head. He'd done that before in our college projects, played with binaural sounds to provoke anxiety. But this was deeper, because it didn't stop when I turned the footage off. That night I heard my voice, not on the tape. In the hallway outside my door, it wasn't loud, just enough to be clear. Just enough to freeze every part of me that still wanted to believe I wasn't being followed by something I couldn't see. It said in my exact cadence, "Let me in. I need to show you what he saw." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I let my phone record until morning. Listened back. Nothing. Not a sound. But I know what I heard. I started watching the tape in increments, just seconds at a time. Pausing, analyzing. I kept telling myself that if I could understand what he saw, maybe I could reverse whatever this was. Maybe it wasn't too late to get him back. But the more I watched, the more I felt watched. Not metaphorically. I began to notice discrepancies, reflections in the footage that didn't match Darren's movements, things in the corners that didn't move with the camera but against it. Like watching something walk backwards in a mirror while everything else played forward. And worse, there were frames where my name showed up, etched into wood grain, scribbled into wallpaper, carved into the walls of rooms I'd never seen. Elliot, that's me. And then I realized the timestamps were off. The recording started 2 days after he was reported missing, which means the camera wasn't just capturing what he saw. It was capturing what something else wanted him to see. I started blacking out. Not fainting, not sleeping, just losing time. I'd blink and hours would be gone. I'd find myself standing in rooms I didn't remember walking into, holding things I hadn't touched, a fork, a screwdriver, a strip of film with no images on it. One morning I woke up with dried blood on my fingertips and no wounds. There was a hole in my living room wall, small, precise, like something had burrowed in. I didn't dig, not at first, but I kept hearing it, a rhythmic tapping soft like bone against plaster, always in threes. Tap, 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 then silence for exactly 7 seconds, then again, like a code I didn't know the key to. I finally gave in, started cutting the drywall, peeling it back like dead skin looking for something, anything. The smell hit me first. Same as the house, burned teeth, but stronger now, mixed with copper and wet fabric. I pushed my hand into the space behind the wall and found something wrapped in gauze. It was a second tape, different label, handwritten in smeared ink. You weren't supposed to watch this. I watched it anyway because that's what obsession does. You think you're chasing closure, but you're feeding it. Feeding it. This tape was different, no Darren, no voice. Just static for 12 minutes and then a single still frame. Of me. Standing in front of a house I don't remember visiting. Staring directly into the camera, eyes too wide, mouth slightly open, but it was me. Same hoodie, same scar above the left eyebrow. Only, the date on the footage was from 5 years ago. I don't have memories from that day, nothing. The frame held for a full minute. Then it cut to black. Then came the whisper. So low I didn't catch it the first few times, but eventually I did. It said, "This is how you become it." The dream started the same night. I was inside the house, but not like before. I wasn't exploring, I was living there, trapped in a loop, folding laundry that bled onto my hands, staring out windows that only showed my own face staring back, hearing a heartbeat in the floorboards that got louder every time I stepped on them. The house was breathing again, only this time, so was I, in sync. When I woke up, I was on the floor. The footage had been playing on a loop for hours. I had no memory of pressing play. My reflection in the dark TV screen. It smiled before I did. I stopped leaving my apartment altogether. Started marking the days by how often I heard the knocking behind the walls. 3 taps, 7 seconds, 3 taps. I tried recording it, but it never showed up on audio. Then one night the knocking stopped, and I felt relieved until I saw the message. Carved into the ceiling above my bed. It's inside now. I've started to hear Darren's voice, not in dreams, in real time. He tells me things I shouldn't know, details from his childhood I'd forgotten, things we never recorded, places we never filmed. He whispers them through outlets, through air vents, through the static hum of my speakers. He keeps saying one phrase over and over. It doesn't just want to be seen. It wants to replace. That's when I realized the footage was never meant to be found. The camcorder wasn't hidden to protect the truth. It was hidden to contain it. Watching it didn't solve the mystery, it opened the door. And now, I can't close it. It's not just in my walls anymore, it's learning how to be me. At first it was little things, my voice echoing back milliseconds after I spoke, but only when I was alone. Notifications popping up on my phone for places I hadn't visited, apps I hadn't opened, search histories for things I didn't remember typing, how to unsee cursed footage, symptoms of identity detachment. Can a person be overwritten? And then came the video call. At 3:12 a.m. I watched the screen flicker to life before I even touched my phone. The camera opened, and for a full unbroken minute, it showed me standing in that same hallway from the tape, older, hollow-eyed, wearing clothes I hadn't owned in years, mouth hanging slightly open. It didn't say anything, just stared. Until I blinked, and it blinked after, delayed, like it wasn't used to how eyelids worked yet. I screamed and threw the phone, shattered it against the wall. But when I went to pick up the pieces, there was no damage. The screen was intact, battery full, camera never activated. But I know what I saw. I know what it's doing. Darren's voice has stopped, but I see him now. Out of the corner of my eyes, in windows, in mirrors, in shadows cast in places where no light source should reach. He looks wrong, bloated like something wearing skin too small for the thing inside. His eyes don't move right, they lag behind his face like badly rendered animation. The worst part is the way he smiles. Not from joy, but as if he's proud of what's happening to me. Like this was his gift, his last act as my friend to drag me with him. He doesn't blink anymore, neither do I when I'm around the footage. I tried to destroy the tape, burned it, twice. Each time I woke up the next day with it back on my desk, the label a little darker, the ink a little more smeared, as if the tape was aging or evolving. I stopped trying. I tried uploading it to warn people, but every file corrupted, every export came out blank. No matter how I converted it, no matter the format, the footage just wouldn't stay digital. It wants to live in analog. It wants to stay embedded, like a parasite that only survives inside something warm and vulnerable. Like me. Last night I returned to the house one final time. I don't remember driving there. I just remember standing in front of it again. The air humming thick with the smell of iron and ash. This time the door was closed, but not locked. My key, Darren's key, fit perfectly. The layout was different again. The shoes were gone. The air was warmer, wetter. The walls were slick to the touch like muscle tissue just beneath the skin. And the house breathed with me. In, out, in, out. I could hear my own heartbeat sinking with the creaking timbers. I wasn't sure where I ended and it began. But I kept walking, because I had to see it. The room from the tape, the skin room. I found it beneath the house, a spiral staircase that shouldn't exist, descending into a place that felt older than the foundation, older than the ground itself. Each step pulsed, each footfall echoed like I was stepping on a lung. The walls here weren't stitched leather, they were screens, dozens of them, dozens of hundreds, each one showing a different version of the house, different angles, different eras, some in black and white, some in washed-out 90s camcorder grain, some in full color and real-time, showing people I didn't recognize wandering the halls with that same vacant, slack-jawed look. Then I saw myself, not just on one screen, on all of them, hundreds of me, each slightly different, different clothes, different expressions, one version crying, another smiling too wide, one pressing a hand against the inside of the screen like he could feel me watching him, and then as one they all turned and looked directly into their cameras, directly at me. and in perfect unison they whispered, "You made us." I ran, up the spiral, through the walls that closed in tighter with every breath. My skin started to itch, burn, peel, like I was sloughing something off something false. I barely made it to the exit before the door slammed shut behind me. And when I looked back, there was no house, just an empty hill. Dry grass, no structure, no evidence. Like it had never been there at all. But my car was still there. And so was the camcorder on the passenger seat recording. Still warm, still breathing. I haven't left my apartment since. Not really sure if this is my apartment anymore. The layout feels slightly off. The bathroom mirror shows me blinking too late. My voice echoes before I speak. The gaps between seconds feel longer. And every night at 3:12 a.m. I receive another call. Always the same. Always me. Staring, closer each time. I stopped answering, but I can't stop watching the footage. It feels like looking into a wound that refuses to close. I think that's the point. It's not a tape, it's a portal. Not to another dimension, to every dimension, every possible version of me that stepped into that house and never left. And now it's growing inside me. I've stopped sleeping. I see people on the street and they look like me. Not similar exact, wearing my face like a mask, watching. I think I've already been replaced. Maybe I'm just the last echo. I'm recording this not as a warning, but as documentation. So there's a record of who I was before it finishes hollowing me out. Before I become another version on another screen smiling that same broken smile. If you find this, if you hear this, don't go looking for the house. Don't watch the tape. Don't follow the voice that sounds like yours, because once it sees you, it remembers, and it never lets go.